Oral questions by members.
Member for West Vancouver Capilano.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. 1 in 5 British Columbians are without a family doctor. The situation is getting worse, and BC now ranks only ahead of Quebec for percentage of the population without a regular health care provider. Last week, the Premier lashed out in his attempts to dodge responsibility. He blamed Ottawa, he blamed the opposition, and he even blamed newcomers. Majas Golshenka says, and I quote, "I'm 72 years old. I moved to Victoria about 2 years ago, and I'm still searching for a doctor," end quote. Why did the Premier blame newcomers like Manaz instead of helping to ensure that all British Columbians can access a family doctor?
Premier of British Columbia.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker, and I thank the member for her question. I was attempting to respond last week to this line of questioning by focusing on the challenges that all British Columbians are facing, whether they live in urban centres or they live in rural British Columbia. We have been uniquely challenged in British Columbia because of the influx of people from across Canada and indeed around the world who have come to British Columbia as a place to put down roots and raise families. With that comes a requirement for services, and we have had questions raised by opposition members, appropriately so, about the challenges of housing, the challenges of health care, the challenges of childcare, all a result of the desirability of our province as a place to put down roots. So I embrace and rejoice in that, but we also have to acknowledge that there are downs with the ups, and one of them is providing the myriad of services that the member inventoried and I've just added to. With respect to the federal government, at no time have I blamed the federal government. Quite the contrary, I've appealed to the federal government to join with provinces across the country to reimagine health care, to make sure that we have the services people need now and in the future. That is by making sure that our primary health care system and the network that we are establishing here in British Columbia provides services to people as they need it, where they need it. That's going to take a significant infusion of cash, which has been lacking from successive federal governments going back decades, not days, not months, but decades. This is acknowledged by premiers across the country. I am honoured to be the head of the Council of the Federation today and for the next number of months, and my obligation is to continue to work collaboratively with my colleagues on behalf of all of us so that we can address the challenges the member so quite rightly points out.
West Vancouver Capilano supplemental.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker, and thank you to the Premier. But this government knows that immigration is happening, that people are moving here. We have those numbers. We have to anticipate that. That can't be an excuse or a reason for us not having enough doctors in British Columbia. It's time for the Premier to look in the mirror and do something other than to deflect. Immigrant women are particularly vulnerable, yet shamefully, the Premier chose to scapegoat people instead of helping them. Kashmir Olik writes, and I quote, "My wonderful doctor will be retiring very soon, and I'm terrified of not receiving proper medical care. Often women of color are not taken seriously, and their concerns are dismissed, leading to more serious health complications," end quote. Will the Premier stand up today, take full responsibility, and tell Kashmir what he is going to do to ensure that hundreds of thousands of British Columbians and she has a family doctor?
Premier.
Well, thank you, Honourable Speaker. And at no time in my life have I ever scapegoated immigrants. I'm the child of an immigrant, and I'm proud to be part of a community. And I appreciate the member is not wholly sincere in her desire to denigrate me. She wants to draw attention to the issue, and I respect that portion of her question. With respect to taking responsibility and accountability as the head of the government, I do so today. On behalf of all British Columbians, the dollar stops with me, the Finance Minister and the Health Minister, as well as all of us working collaboratively to provide the services our citizens want. What we have been doing is trying to break the traditional mold of you need a GP or you can't get health care by putting in place primary care networks so we can provide the services people need in a real-time basis in communities across British Columbia. It's working, it will take more time, and the influx of people coming from around the world is exciting for all of us. But it does have it does have costs, and we all in this House have to pass budgets to make sure that we can provide the services for people, and we'll be bringing forward those budgets as we have since February, and I look forward to unanimous support when the health budget comes forward in the next number of days.